What would drive a baby elephant to approach a human home before sunrise, knocking again and again as the world still sleeps? In the quiet hours of dawn, an unlikely visitor makes a choice that defies instinct, distance, and everything science thought it understood about animal behavior. What began as a mysterious disturbance soon unfolded into a journey of intelligence, urgency, and an unbreakable bond. Stay with us, because the reason this baby elephant came knocking will break your heart. A sound that refused to be ignored. The first knock arrives before the horizon begins to pale, landing against the wooden door with a weight that feels deliberate rather than accidental. It is not the sharp crack of falling branches or the frantic rustle of scavengers near camp. This sound carries rhythm. 3 measured impacts, evenly spaced, followed by silence long enough to suggest patience rather than chance. Inside the small research outpost, the man wakes with the disoriented alertness of someone accustomed to danger. Years spent working near protected reserves have trained him to categorize sounds instantly. Wind has patterns. Predators move with urgency. This does neither. The knock feels intentional, as if shaped by thought rather than instinct. He waits. In the distance, nocturnal insects continue their steady chorus. No alarm calls erupt from birds. No panicked movement ripples through the brush. The environment behaves as if nothing is wrong. Yet the door receives another set of controlled impacts. Identical spacing. Identical force. The repetition signals awareness of cause and effect, something rarely associated with the wild at this hour. The man moves closer without opening the door. His boots scrape softly against the floor, producing no reaction outside. Whatever stands there does not retreat. Instead, the knocking resumes, slower now, as though adjusted in response to time passing. That adjustment unsettles him more than the sound itself. Few animals approach human structures deliberately before dawn. Those that do are usually driven by hunger or desperation, leaving claw marks or frantic damage behind. This door shows neither. The wood remains intact. The sound comes from a broad, dull surface, making contact with care. Even without seeing it, the man understands this is not an accident of movement. He peers through the narrow window cut high into the door. At first, there was only darkness. Then the shape becomes visible, pale against the deeper shadows. The height alone rules out anything common to the region. It does not sway or pace. It waits. The man's mind races through explanations, discarding them as quickly as they surface. No herd should be this close to human shelter. No juvenile should be alone. Most importantly, no elephant should understand that a door represents access rather than obstacle. Yet the sound returns, softer now, placed higher on the wood as if adjusted to human scale. Outside, the air carries the smell of damp earth and crushed grass. That scent suggests recent movement, but not chaos. The ground beyond the threshold remains undisturbed except for a neat cluster of rounded impressions placed with surprising precision. Whoever made them stood still between knocks. The man reaches for his radio but stops short of using it. Something about the timing feels fragile, as if sudden noise might shatter an unspoken agreement forming on the other side of the door. Instead, he listens again, focusing on the pauses rather than the sound itself. The silence between knocks is consistent, neither rushed nor hesitant. Minutes pass, the eastern sky begins its slow transition, lifting shapes out of shadow. With growing light comes a clearer sense of scale. The silhouette does not shift with the dawn. It remains exactly where it first appeared, head lowered, body squared toward the door. There is no attempt to push through, no testing of weak points, only waiting. This behavior contradicts decades of observed elephant conduct. Juveniles in distress vocalize. They trumpet, rumble, and cry out to the herd. None of those sounds reach the outpost. The quiet feels intentional, as though noise itself has been withheld for a reason. The man places his hand against the interior of the door, feeling the residual vibration from the last knock. It lingers faintly in the wood. He realizes then that the sound was not random force. It was moderated, controlled to avoid damage. Whoever stands outside understands restraint. As daylight strengthens, the knock-in stops entirely. The presence remains. That choice proves more unsettling than any noise. It suggests awareness that the message has already been delivered. The door has been acknowledged. Now the response is awaited. What kind of intelligence chooses silence after making itself known? And why would it come here before the world wakes? Stay with us as the mystery deepens. The unthinkable presence at the door. The door opens slowly, not out of confidence but calculation. The man keeps his body angled, allowing space rather than confrontation. What stands before him is revealed not all at once, but in parts that contradict expectation with every inch of daylight that reaches it. The elephant is young, not newly born, but far from independent. Its skin still carries a faint softness beneath the dust, and its proportions lack the imposing symmetry of adulthood. The tusks have not yet emerged. This is an age defined by protection, by constant proximity to older bodies that guide movement and enforce survival. Yet no such presence appears behind it. What immediately defies logic is the posture. The calf does not rush forward or recoil. Its ears are relaxed, not flared in threat or fear. The trunk hangs low, curling inward at the tip, a position more often observed during calm observation than stress. Every visible signal contradicts the danger inherent in this encounter. Elephants raised within herds rarely approach unfamiliar structures without encouragement. Even then, juveniles are shielded behind adults, learning by imitation rather than initiative. This calf stands alone, squared toward the doorway as if the structure itself holds meaning rather than novelty. The man notices the eyes next. They are not wide with panic nor unfocused with confusion. They track his movement with steady attention. When he shifts his weight, the calf adjusts its stance. When he pauses, it remains still. The responsiveness suggests awareness rather than instinctual reaction. No vocalization follows. The silence persists, broken only by distant birds beginning their morning calls. An elephant, separated from its herd, typically announces that absence with urgency. Low rumbles travel long distances. Distress calls cut through a dense forest. This calf produces none of them. Instead, it takes a single step back, deliberate and slow, increasing the distance without retreating into the trees. The movement is not avoidance. It reads as an invitation. The calf lowers its head slightly, a gesture often used within herds to signal follow-through rather than submission. The ground beneath its feet tells another story. The impressions are shallow, consistent, and spaced evenly. There are no erratic turns, no overlapping prints that would indicate panic or pursuit. Whatever journey brought it here was not chaotic. It was measured. The man scans the tree line. No broken branches mark a hurried escape. No churned soil suggests struggle. The absence of those signs raises a troubling implication. This calf did not flee danger. It left something behind. Research conducted over decades has shown that elephants possess strong spatial memory, often returning to specific locations years after initial exposure. Water sources, migration routes, and even human settlements can become fixed reference points. This outpost, isolated and rarely visited, appears to have entered that mental map for reasons not yet understood. The calf shifts again, turning its body just enough to reveal its flank. Along the side, dried mud clings in uneven patches, layered rather than smeared. This suggests repeated stops, deliberate wallowing or resting rather than frantic movement. There is endurance here, not desperation. Another step back follows, then stillness. The calf does not look away. It waits, as though certain that the message has landed. The man realizes then that the knocking was not the beginning of the encounter. It was the final step in a sequence that started much earlier, somewhere far beyond the reach of the outpost's walls. He considers closing the door. Protocol would demand distance, caution, and notification before engagement. Yet, protocols do not account for animals that demonstrate choice. The calf's behavior does not align with hunger, curiosity, or threat. It aligns with purpose. As the sun clears the horizon, illuminating the space between them, the truth becomes unavoidable. This animal has not wandered here by accident. It has arrived with intention shaped by circumstance, memory, and an absence that weighs heavier than fear. If this calf came alone, calm and silent, what event was powerful enough to override everything its species relies on for survival? Come with us to explore the hidden corners of the story. Communication without words. The calf does not move when the man steps outside. It does not advance either. The distance between them remains fixed, preserved like a boundary both seem to understand. In elephant society, space carries meaning. Proximity signals trust. Distance signals caution. This calf holds the line precisely, neither breaching nor withdrawing. What follows is not sound, but sequence. The calf lifts its trunk slightly, not high enough to scent the air, not low enough to rest. It pauses mid-motion, then lowers it again. The action repeats once more, slower the second time. This is not random movement. Elephants often use repeated gestures to test response rather than provoke reaction. The man shifts his stance to the side. Instantly, the calf mirrors the change, adjusting its body to keep him within its forward field of vision. Young elephants typically track movement only when guided by adults. This one does so independently, suggesting learned awareness rather than reflex. A long pause follows, no knocking, no steps away. The calf waits. In elephant communication, waiting can be as meaningful as action. It allows time for interpretation, a shared pause that invites choice rather than demand. The man notices something else. The calf's ears flick once, then still. Ear movement often signals emotional state. Rapid flapping indicates agitation or cooling. Stillness suggests focus. The calf is not regulating temperature. It is observing. He takes a cautious step forward. The calf does not retreat. Instead, it turns its head slightly, angling one eye toward the surrounding landscape rather than the man himself. The shift redirects attention without breaking engagement. Within herds, this gesture often precedes movement led by a matriarch, signaling direction without vocal command. The calf then takes 2 steps backward, slow and evenly paced, stopping to look back again. The message becomes clearer. This is not a request for food or shelter, it is an invitation to follow. Studies have documented elephants using directional body orientation to guide others toward water, calves, or threats. These cues rely on shared understanding developed through constant social interaction. For a juvenile to employ them toward a human implies something unprecedented. It suggests the calf believes the man can interpret and respond correctly. The ground between them becomes a language of its own. Each step the calf takes is placed carefully, avoiding loose stones and dry branches that would snap under weight. This restraint reduces noise, a tactic elephants use when navigating unfamiliar or risky terrain. The calf is not wandering, it is leading. The man hesitates only once. The forest beyond the outpost thickens quickly, swallowing light and sound. Protocol dictates radio contact, backup, delay. Yet the calf stops again, waiting at the edge of the clearing. It does not cross into cover without him. That pause changes everything. Elephants rarely halt progress once movement begins, unless responding to herd alignment. This calf is checking for compliance. It needs confirmation. He steps forward. Immediately, the calf resumes walking, maintaining a consistent pace just slow enough to keep him close. The distance never widens. This is not escape behavior. It is an escort. As they move, the calf avoids direct paths. Instead, it chooses gentle curves, skirting dense brush and uneven ground. Such route selection reflects spatial planning, something elephants demonstrate when navigating long migration corridors. This calf is applying that same logic here. No vocal signals emerge. Silence remains the rule. The calf communicates entirely through motion and timing. Every pause invites interpretation. Every glance back confirms alignment. The absence of sound feels intentional, as though noise might complicate what must remain precise. The man becomes acutely aware that he is no longer observing animal behavior. He is participating in it. The calf has assigned him a role, not as threat or curiosity, but as responder. They move deeper into the forest, away from the artificial boundary of the outpost. With each step, the calf's confidence grows. The movements become smoother, less hesitant. Whatever uncertainty existed at the door no longer applies here. This terrain belongs to the narrative it is revealing. The realization settles slowly but firmly. The knocking, the waiting, the silence, and now the guided movement are all parts of a single communication strategy. One designed not to alarm, but to recruit. If this calf has chosen a human as its partner, what urgency lies ahead that could not be faced alone? Let us guide you into what no one expected. The trail that was never accidental. The forest tightens almost immediately, replacing open ground with layered vegetation that filters light into narrow shafts. The calf moves with certainty, choosing a path that curves rather than cuts straight through. This is not the fastest route. It is the safest. Elephants are known to memorize terrain through repeated exposure, favoring routes that minimize injury and energy loss. For a calf to demonstrate this level of route selection suggests prior travel, not exploration. The man begins to notice the order hidden within the movement. Whenever the ground dips, the calf slows. When roots crisscross the soil, It angles its steps to avoid unstable footing. These adjustments are subtle but consistent. Each one reflects learned behavior passed down through generations, a kind of inherited map resawn through experience. As they advance, signs of other wildlife appear and vanish just as quickly. Antelope tracks veer away, birds lift from low branches in brief flutters, then settle again once the pair passes. The forest does not react with alarm. This suggests the calf is not emitting distress signals that would typically ripple through the ecosystem. The quiet continues, dense and deliberate. The calf pauses near a fallen log, turning its head back once more. This time, the look is held longer. Elephants often use sustained eye contact to confirm group cohesion during movement. The man steps closer, reducing the gap. Only then does the calf proceed, stepping over the obstacle with practiced ease. The terrain begins to slope downward. Moisture thickens the air, carrying the scent of stagnant water and decaying leaves. The calf skirts the edge of a shallow depression rather than entering it. Such avoidance aligns with elephant behavior around unstable ground, particularly in areas where mud can conceal deeper hazards. The man's breathing grows heavier, not from exertion alone, but from awareness. This path feels intentional in a way that defies coincidence. There are no abrupt changes in direction, no hesitation. The calf does not stop to reassess or wander. It knows where it is going. Broken vegetation appears ahead, but not the chaotic kind left by fleeing animals. Branches are snapped at consistent heights, leaves are pressed flat rather than torn free. These signs indicate prolonged presence rather than sudden movement. Something large has been here for some time. The calf slows again, this time lowering its head as it walks. This posture reduces visibility but increases focus on scent and ground feedback. Elephants often rely on vibrations felt through their feet to detect changes in terrain or movement ahead. The calf is reading the ground. A faint mark becomes visible along a tree trunk, not a claw or tooth impression, but a smooth smear where bark has been rubbed away. Adult elephants use trees to scratch, lean, and relieve pressure. The height of the mark places it well above the calf's reach. This is the first clear indication of another presence, larger and stationary. The man stops instinctively. The calf does not. It advances several more steps before halting, then turns back sharply. The movement carries urgency without panic. This is not a warning to retreat. It is a signal to pay attention. The forest opens slightly, forming a natural clearing shaped by water flow rather than human interference. The ground here appears uneven, with subtle depressions masked by leaf litter. Such terrain can be deceptively dangerous. Elephants are known to test ground stability before committing weight. The calf skirts the perimeter, never stepping fully into the center. At the edge of the clearing, the calf stops completely. It does not move forward again. Instead, it shifts its body sideways, creating a clear line of sight past its shoulder. This positioning mirrors a behavior observed when elephants reveal something to herd members without physically leading them closer. The man steps into the opening cautiously, eyes scanning the ground. The air feels heavier here, still and enclosed despite the open space. There is a sense of containment, as though the land itself has held something in place. Behind him, the calf remains motionless. It has led as far as it intends to. Whatever lies ahead must now be confronted directly. The guiding role has ended. The revealing role has begun. If the path was this carefully chosen, what reality waits at its end that demands such precision? Stay here as the next twist unfolds. Where the ground betrayed a mother. The first clue is not something seen, but something felt in the scale of the space. The clearing's uneven ground gradually reveals a deliberate pattern as the man advances. The depressions are not mere hollows carved by wind or erosion. They bear the unmistakable imprint of weight, concentrated and unyielding, pressed deep into soil that had once seemed solid and unbroken. Each indentation tells a story of mass held too long in a single place, a quiet testament to presence and pressure, as if the land itself remembers what rested upon it and refuses to forget. The pattern speaks of intention, of something, someone, once grounded here with a gravity that the earth could not escape. At the center lies the adult elephant, partially obscured by fallen leaves and collapsed brush. Her body rests at an unnatural angle, one flank lower than the other, legs positioned as if frozen mid-struggle. The earth beneath her has given way, swallowing weight it could not support. This is not a collapse from injury or illness. It is entrapment. Elephants depend on stable footing. Their joints and muscles are engineered for forward momentum, not vertical extraction. Once trapped in soft ground, even the strongest individuals can exhaust themselves rapidly. The marks surrounding her tell that story with devastating clarity. Deep grooves radiate outward, carved by repeated attempts to push free. The soil is churned in overlapping patterns, each one indicating a shift in strategy rather than panic. She did not thrash blindly. She tested angles. She redistributed weight. She adapted again and again. Tree trunks nearby bear fresh scars. Smooth bark has been stripped away where her body pressed against them, seeking leverage. This behavior aligns with documented rescue attempts observed within elephant herds, where trapped individuals use surrounding structures to brace and pull. Here, those attempts ended in stillness. The mother's skin is coated in dried mud layered thickly along her side, evidence of prolonged contact with wet ground that later hardened. Her breathing is shallow but present, each rise of her chest slow and labored. Survival has narrowed to conservation of energy. What stops the man cold are the smaller marks surrounding her. Tiny footprints circle the depression repeatedly, overlapping in erratic paths. They appear, disappear, then return again and again. This is not wandering. This is persistence. The calf tried everything. There are signs of pushing where its small body pressed against its mother's flank. The impressions lack depth, but not intent. Each attempt aligns with a different position, suggesting experimentation rather than surrender. The calf did not understand physics, but it understood effort. Nearby branches lie snapped at low heights, twisted rather than broken cleanly. Calves often use their trunks and foreheads to move obstacles without the strength to fully clear them. These branches were dragged closer, positioned near the mother's body, possibly in an attempt to create support or leverage. No other adult tracks appear in the clearing. This absence speaks louder than presence. Herds do not abandon trapped members easily. When they do, it is often due to external pressure, such as predators or human interference. Here, there is no sign of either. The isolation suggests the incident occurred away from established movement routes. Time becomes the enemy in such scenarios. An elephant immobilized in this way faces dehydration, organ compression, and eventual collapse. The mother's restraint indicates awareness of that reality. She has stopped fighting the ground, choosing stillness over wasteful exertion. The calf stands at the edge of the clearing, watching. It does not approach now. This change marks a shift from action to expectation. It has done what it could alone. The man radios for assistance, his voice controlled but urgent. Heavy equipment will be needed. Veterinary support, time. The response crackles back with confirmations, distances measured, estimates given. None of them feel fast enough. As he waits, he notices the mother's eye open slightly, tracking movement despite exhaustion. Elephants possess acute awareness even under extreme stress. Her gaze settles not on him, but on the calf. The bond remains intact, unbroken by pain or fear. The calf responds by stepping closer, stopping just short of the unstable edge. It does not vocalize, it does not touch. Its role now is witness, not rescuer. The responsibility has passed. This place, hidden by foliage and shaped by deception, nearly erased a life. The clearing was not hostile by design. It simply failed under weight, turning ordinary ground into a trap. Yet, what brought help here was not chance or human patrols. It was a deliberate journey made by a calf that refused to accept stillness as an ending. If survival depended on recognizing when to seek help beyond your own kind, how far would you be willing to go? Stay with us as the secrets grow even darker. Intelligence that changed everything. Help arrives in stages, not all at once. The first responders move carefully, assessing the terrain before stepping near the trapped elephant. Every action is deliberate. A wrong placement of weight could trigger further collapse. The clearing dictates the pace, reminding everyone that nature, not urgency, sets the rules here. The mother remains remarkably still. Veterinarians later note this restraint as critical. Elephants under stress often conserve energy when movement proves futile, a survival adaptation that reduces internal damage. Her stillness is not resignation. It is a calculation. Heavy straps are secured around her torso, positioned to distribute force evenly and prevent joint strain. Each placement requires precision. Elephants can panic when restrained, but she does not. Her breathing steadies as if recognizing that effort is now shared. Trust, even across species, alters outcomes. The calf watches from a distance, never interfering, never retreating. This behavior aligns with observations of young elephants during herd rescue operations. Calves often remain nearby but avoid obstructing coordinated movement, responding to shifts in attention rather than commands. When tension is applied to the straps, the ground resists first. The soil clings, reluctant to release what it has claimed. Slowly, inch by inch, the mother's body shifts. The process takes hours. Progress is measured in subtle changes rather than dramatic motion. Throughout the extraction, the calf adjusts its position to maintain line of sight. When equipment blocks its view, it moves. When the mother's head lifts slightly, the calf mirrors the motion. These synchronized responses reveal an emotional attunement often underestimated in non-human animals. Finally, the ground yields. The mother is freed and guided onto firmer soil. Her legs tremble under unfamiliar load, but they hold. The clearing exhales its grip, leaving behind only scars and impressions that will eventually soften back into the forest floor. Water is offered. The mother drinks slowly. Hydration is critical after prolonged immobilization, but excess can shock weakened systems. The careful balance between urgency and restraint defines every decision made here. Only after stability is confirmed does the calf approach. It does not rush. It closes the distance in stages, stopping briefly at each shift in posture from its mother. When it finally reaches her side, the contact is gentle. A trunk rests briefly against her shoulder, then withdraws. The gesture is enough. Later analysis focuses not on the rescue itself, but on what preceded it. Researchers note the sequence of decisions made by the calf, the selection of a human structure, the timing of the approach, the non-vocal communication, the guided return. None of these behaviors appear randomly. Elephants possess one of the largest hippocampi among land mammals, a brain structure associated with memory and spatial navigation. They are capable of recalling locations tied to past outcomes, including water access and human presence. The calf's actions suggest recall paired with evaluation. This was not blind hope. It was problem-solving. The calf did not seek help indiscriminately. It sought help specifically where response was most likely. That distinction reframes the entire encounter. What unfolded was not instinct alone, but reasoning under pressure. In the days that follow, the site is quietly documented rather than publicized. Soil samples are taken to understand how a seemingly solid surface transformed into a trap under extreme weight. Wildlife officers mark the clearing as unstable, noting that seasonal moisture shifts can turn familiar ground into sudden danger even for experienced animals. The data collected here will later be used to adjust patrol routes and identify similar hidden risks across the reserve. None of this appears dramatic, yet these preventative measures ensure that what happened here becomes an exception rather than a pattern repeated elsewhere. As the team prepares to relocate the mother to safer ground, the calf stays close, adapting again to a changing situation. The crisis that shaped its choices is ending, but the imprint of those choices remains. This account does not conclude with rescue alone. It ends with a challenge to how intelligence is defined, recognized, and respected. The calf crossed a boundary not of distance, but of expectation, demonstrating that understanding can exist without shared language. In a world that often underestimates non-human minds, one small elephant rewrote the terms of survival through memory, judgment, and resolve. Were you moved by how a baby elephant crossed the boundaries between species in a moment of desperate clarity and the silent decision that changed everything? Tell us which part of this extraordinary story stayed with you the longest.